There's no just getting away from this guy. Donald Trump, of course, in the emblazoned jet, visiting the U.S.-Mexican border, talking about immigration today. But will he get his point across or just cause more finger-pointing and controversy? Also, Anthony Weiner trying to make a comeback, and you will not believe his new gig. Then, the incredible true story of a woman who helped rebuild Iraq after the fall of Saddam Hussein. She volunteered to be once a human shield, then had her house blown up with her in it, and she became a provisional leader. An amazing story. Our conversation coming up later. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to start, yes, with the Donald Trump here in a border edition of the Comb-Over Report. I could watch that all night. Now, remember when Trump said this during his announcement speech?
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
By the way, he took the number of about 11 million illegals and tripled it to 30-something millions that are here in the country from Mexico, but I guess that's just inflation. Anyway, most people, including yours truly, wrongly thought that that would sink his campaign before it even got started. But like I said, I was wrong. Not only do the polls say he's doing well, but he's decided to double, if not triple down on the off-the-wall comments since then. And Trump, he visited the Mexican border today with a healthy lead in the polls. Trump, he went there to talk about immigration, but everyone instead is talking about his new Make America Great Again hat. The hat made more sense than maybe the immigration plan if you heard it, and that's not really a plan at all. Take a listen.
There is a huge problem with the illegals coming through. And in this section, it's a problem. In some sections, it's a massive problem.
But what details
and you have to do, you have to make the people that come in, they have to be legal. The first thing we have to do is strengthen our borders, and after that, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about it. Thank you very much.
In fact, there was a guy next to him. I swear he forgot his name. He just called him Jesus the whole time, said he loved him so much, he wanted to hire him. Then they asked him afterwards, do you agree with his plan to build a wall? He said, absolutely not. But I don't even know the point of policy with this, but you can't avoid the reality. He's double, if not triple, his competitors in certain cases. He'll be in the debate when others, including sitting senators and the rest, will be watching from the outside. Let's bring in our panel here. I don't know if they can make sense of it, but they'll try. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Bill O'Reilly, Republican strategist. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Okay. Bill, help me out on this, because I know Republicans, I'm starting with you. Republicans, they've tried every way. They tried to ignore him, thinking he'd self-immolate. That didn't work. Yeah. They tried to condemn him after he unbelievably went after John McCain's war record, forgetting all the deferments and everything that he took. But again, why let facts get in the way of a good story? Now he's at the border with, I'm surprised it didn't have a Trump logo, and the Make America Great Again hat without any kind of rhyme or reason. What do Republicans do? And what do they do if he follows through on his threat that, hey, this doesn't go well, run as an independent, siphoning votes only from Republicans?
Yeah, at this point, I have no words. I was talking to a friend last night. He asked me on the phone, and I asked him, he asked the exact same question. He was like, did you see what Trump did today? I said, yeah, of course, everyone saw what Trump did today. And he said, well, if you're the other candidates, what do you do? And I went dead silent. Rick Perry is now trying to attack Trump to try and ride up on his publicity tail. Others are trying to lay off. People are trying different things. I don't see Trump doing a third-party candidacy. I think that's crazy talk. I think he weakens himself by even saying that. But I think the country's having a really good laugh right now. But I don't find much funny about what Trump is doing. But there's a laugh going on anyway. He's irresistible to the media. We're talking about him. Yep. I write a weekly column, twice a week. At least one of them is about Trump. I can't help myself. But he goes down to the border. You see the reporter saying, so what do you actually want to do about it? And he goes, thanks, I'm out of here. We need to strengthen the border. Mexico's going to pay for it, and I'm out of here.
And then we'll have plenty of time to figure out what to do.
What to do.
Listen, if you're the rest of the field for a minute, look at John Kasich, okay? Our good friend Chris Shays went up for his announcement in New Hampshire. I think maybe we're the only four guys who knew, okay? And he had something interesting to say, but I guess that's beside the point. Rick Perry, I gotta hope he thought about the headline when he wrote it. He said Donald Trump from the Know Nothing Party. He, the guy who can't even name a handful of cabinets that he'd shut down, remember, 4 years ago. You got Lindsey Graham blowing up a phone here to try and get attention on a
That was
viral
clever.
thing. That was clever,
That wasn't
but he
bad,
did that only because Trump gave out his phone number.
Sure.
They don't know whether the bleeper, bleep.
They're afraid of him, which is a problem. I mean, they're afraid of offending Trump for the backlash they'll get from Trump. They're also afraid of offending Trump because they're afraid that Trump supporters, that 24% in the latest poll, will then turn on them. And you can't really run a fear-based campaign. And if I was advising Republican candidates, first of all, I would, I don't know how I'd be in that position, but I would say attack Trump and what he says when it's outlandish, and otherwise just leave him alone, because he will self-immolate. He will say something that's too far beyond the pale, and his campaign will eventually collapse.
You know what? I've been saying that for weeks now, Dom, and you keep saying, you guys say whatever you want, but he's sticking around. To be fair, he gave his financials. There's no forensics into it to see what's real, what's not yet. There'll be more stories about it. I had my legal panel here last night. I had one of the guys who handled the divorce representing Ivana Trump, and he said, oh my God, if the stuff that comes out of the depositions, forget about mine or the Maples or whatever else, he said, he goes from unlikable to detestable for a lot of folks. This can't last, can it? I mean, maybe it's not going to go away as soon as I thought it was, but it just can't sustain itself, right?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. And it will. And it will until Mr. Trump decides that he doesn't want to play anymore. As long as I don't care what Republicans say. Notice you mentioned Lindsey Graham and you mentioned one or two others. Rick Perry.
John Kasich, yeah.
They are all trying to, I don't know if emulate is the right word, but they want to get connected to Trump. That's the only reason why they're attacking him. Because if they don't, Rick Perry's at what, 0% in the poll?
But less than 5. Yeah.
No, yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
so bottom line is, if he doesn't get his numbers up, he won't be in the debate in Cleveland. The home state governor won't be in the debate in Cleveland, I believe August 6th. So what they're doing right now, Richard, is the name of the game is Donald Trump is a star. The more the media attacks him, the more the base is going to love him.
Okay, but here is where I think it gets a little bit more complicated. He'll not only make it onto the stage, he may even get more attention in the debate, okay? But there is a reason why every campaign and every election has ground game and structure and organizations in the states and the Iowas and the New Hampshires and everything else. Right now in Iowa, I think he's got a former contestant from, The Apprentice. No, I'm not even making this up, who's running his thing. You still have to convince people, not that they recognize you, but that they'll actually pick you to represent their party in a presidential election. It gets more complicated when people not answering a poll but pull a lever, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. He needs a ground game in the states, and especially in states like Iowa and New Hampshire. Those are really, people-heavy states. You got to talk to people one-on-one. You need troops in there. I think Andrew's right. I mean, Trump, I thought he blew himself up with McCain, and I think actually he did. Just the air is not out of his balloon yet. I think eventually he finishes himself. But I think what the Republicans need to do is recognize what he's tapped into, and that's a general voter animosity with big media, with big business, with big politics. Those things poll so poorly, and that's what he's hitting. I think what they need to point out to the public is that Trump has been playing the political game for years. He's part of the system. He's been giving money to both sides for years. He's been gaming it.
Well,
he's just as part of the system as anybody else.
That brings me to my point, Andrew. What do you think? We know more, the four of us, than certainly the regular person in Iowa or New Hampshire or any of the subs. I'll rattle off a few, and you guys can name even more. From he doesn't pay his bills. He stiffed a lot of folks, and if he's the greatest businessman, tell me how many times he's gone bankrupt, personally and otherwise, for operations. He's done some really awful things and screwed over some people, including regular people here. We've talked about a whole bunch of incidents where he's gone bad on that. Personal stuff, I mean, the Post or the Daily News ran that cover of him where, he ducked out of his service here, but yet he has the audacity to go after McCain. There's that. There's more. What kind of stuff would make somebody say, I find him to be this charming rogue, but wait, that's going too far?
See, I don't think there's going to be an episode or a story that comes out from his past or anything like that. I mean,
why not?
That stuff's already in the public domain. Plus, Trump can turn on that, and he can say, see, that's just the left-wing liberal media out to get me because they see the success that I have. And people
what if it's other Republicans
and people in the foxhole, pun intended, will probably buy that and go with it. I think it's when he loses the roguish charm. It's when his own words are the thing that is working against him, and he will go too far. He has a history of doing that all the way through.
Like insulting POWs.
And I think it'll happen again. And just earlier, I don't think Trump's going away. I think he's in this race for as long as he wants to be in. The question isn't how do you make him go away. It's at one point does he cease to be relevant in the race for the top of the polls. And I think once he puts foot firmly in mouth, I think that's when you'll begin to see the beginning of the end of Trump as a relevant factor in this primary process. He's not leaving until he wants to. But
everybody loves a winner. He's perceived as a winner. And those issues you brought up, those are legitimate issues. But we could almost look at any business where bills are not paid or whatever the case may be as it relates to Trump.
He is notorious in the real estate industry and everyone else as defaulting on so many
But
things.
you can say that till you're blue in the face. He's perceived as a billionaire that's highly successful. The media almost, the more you talk against them, the more you're building them up.
Mitt Romney was a highly successful businessman.
Right, but he didn't have the charm. He didn't have the personality.
You call that charm?
No. Listen, we may not like it, but let's be honest.
I think
deep down inside, you don't think many Americans agree with what Trump said?
I think Donald Trump is what everybody tells their children not to become.
I think what he said about McCain, I've never seen anybody who puts down a POW and how that's politically clever. To me, I know a lot of people who didn't like this whole birther stuff. Okay, but maybe the base will like that. But how does anybody, especially a Republican base, think besmirching a POW's record is roguish charm? Like, to me, and maybe Andrew's right, just, let him talk himself out.
The worst thing that he's doing, though, for the Republican side is he's freezing the field. And you got the second-tier candidates who can't break through. In order to break through, you've got to throw a hand grenade, and that hurts you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
And they can't stop the lower-tier guys because they know time's running out.
Exactly.
They're going to start throwing grenades, and that hurts everybody in the field, exactly like Bill said. All right, we come back, we turn closer to home. A big win for Preet Bharara. Just won a felony conviction against Thomas Libas, the state Senate second-ranking Republican. We're going to look at the takeaway for all the other Albany corruption cases he's prosecuting. Also, we're going to speak to the woman who volunteered to help rebuild Iraq, then suddenly wound up as provincial leader, reporting to the ambassador Paul Bremer, as well as a top general on the ground. And the story, it only gets crazier from there.